surplus have less to do with money than it does anything else. So, you can have all of the money in the world. You can be a multi-billionaire and not have health. What can you do with that money laying in a hospital bed or in hospice or any of those other places? You can be emotionally unsound. And what would the money do for you? You can be mentally challenged. And still, what can the money do for you? So let me just first of all dispel the myth that surplus have everything to do with money. It doesn't. So the first thing that I want you to know, I'm going to give you 5 principles on how to go from struggling to surplus. The first thing that I want you to recognize is that struggling is an integral and important part of life. Now, I know everybody want to take the chair next to them and throw it at me. Please don't. If you want to throw some money, I'll take that. But please don't throw the chairs, because I'm going to tell you why struggling is so important to your life. My spiritual mother, who is now with the Lord, said many years ago, and I didn't quite understand it when I first heard it, but she said, how can never been there tell been there how to get there? And I said, what? How can never been there tell been there how to get there? In other words, if you've never gone through anything, you can't tell the next person that it's possible to go through something and come out on the other side. Right? And so I want you today, I'm going to give you a little homework too. I want you to embrace your struggles. Now, none of us want to go through struggles. I spent a lot of years saying, God, why do I have to struggle for everything? God, why is everything so hard for me? God, why is it that I got to work for everything when stuff come easy for other people? But it was many, many, many years that I asked that question, and many, many nights that I cried because I had yet another day of struggle, until one day I realized that in order to get through to the other side, I had to embrace my struggle, because my struggle was not about me. And so that leads me to my second point, which is be determined that you're going to live a purpose-driven life. Rick Warren wrote a book many years ago called The Purpose-Driven Life. And the first sentence in that book said, it's not about you. Anybody else read that book? Okay. The first sentence in the book said, it's not about you. I read that sentence about 5 times because I was convinced that either him, the editor, the publisher, or somebody had left out a word, honestly. Because in my mind, it had to be about me. Because I'm Ruby, at the time I was Robeson, but I'm Ruby Powell. So it had to be about me. But guess what? It wasn't about me. It was about the reason why I was called into this earth, and that's my purpose. Justin Bieber wrote a song. He sings a song called Purpose. And I actually printed out the words to this song for each one of you all to take with you today. And the song starts out like this: feeling like I'm breathing my last breath, feeling like I'm walking my last steps, looking at all the tears that I've wept, looking at all the promises that I've kept. But I put my heart into your hands. Here's my soul to keep. I let you in with all that I can. You're not hard to reach. Some folks thought he was talking about a girlfriend he had. He wasn't. He was talking about reconnecting his relationship with God. He said, you bless me, and I'm not going to read all of the words because I'm going to let you take them with you. He said, you bless me with the best gift that I've ever known. You've given me purpose. You've given me purpose. He goes on to say that you've given me the best gift I've known. You give me purpose every day and in every way. And so determine that you want to live a purpose-driven life. The third thing that I want to talk about is know that you can start again without starting over. So many times we get in too early and we stay in too long. We can see ourselves going down a path, and we know that the path is not productive, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's on a job, regardless of where it is. We get in there and we stay on that job that we hate to get up and go to every morning because we need a paycheck. Am I right? Anybody else did? Now, I stayed on the job for 27 years. I moved around a little bit, but I stayed as a state employee for 27 years because all I could think about is, at one point I was a single parent. I thought about having to be the sole person to take care of my daughter. Then I got married. Then my husband had some health challenges, and I was still basically the sole provider. So I stayed a little bit longer, and I stayed a little bit longer, and I stayed a little bit longer, until finally I decided this ain't working for me. And when God says it's over, guess what? It's over. And so I walked away from that job August 31st, and as Dr. Artis would say, with no safety net, trusting in God because that's the assignment that he gave me. Okay? So we're talking about going from struggling to surplus. So I started my life all over again, but I didn't start over. I didn't go back to square one. I picked up where I was. I took what I knew, and I moved forward. The last thing, the fourth thing is know your why. So when you talk about why are you doing this, why are you doing that, my know your why is a little bit different. My why is find out what has hurt you. Find out what has hindered you. Then you want to find out what can heal you and what can help you. That's your why. Know your why. We get stuck in places so many times because we've been hurt, we've been injured, we've been wounded, but we never take the next step to say, how do I go further and be healed in this situation and be helped in this situation? And last but not least, walk by faith. Everything I do is bathed in prayer and faith. Coach Mike just told you, I just went to the Philippines. I just got back Tuesday night. Something that I in my own self would have never done. But in doing that, I took a leap of faith because first of all, I told you I left my job August 31st. I didn't have $2,500 to go on that trip. But God called me to go, and so I said, God, if it's really you calling me to go, you'll make a way for me to go. And not only did he make a way for me to go, but he went exceeding abundantly over all that I could ask or think. And so I walked by faith. I got on the airplane praying and hoping that the pilot knew where he was going, that he knew what he was doing, that he wasn't sleepy, high, or drunk. And the first flight on the way to the Philippines was 13 and a half hours, longer than I've ever flown in my entire life. But I had faith because of the mission that I was being sent there to do. So, in closing, I'm encouraging each one of you all, in order to go from struggling to surplus, stay with the process. Don't be afraid of the process. I guarantee you, you may come out with a couple of bruises, you may come out with a few scars, but I guarantee you that you can walk through the fire and you will not be consumed. I guarantee you that you will come out on the other side alive. Thank you for your time.